What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Fast. Today, let's get started with Colby Covington can see Arman Tsarukyan knocking out Islam Makhachev. Colby Covington isn't ruling out Arman Tsarukyan's chances of taking out Islam Makhachev at UFC 311. If Tsarukyan is able to keep the fight on the feet, Covington thinks he has the power to finish Makhachev. Tsarukyan trains at Covington's former gym, American Top Team, who are preparing for their second straight lightweight title fight. Dustin Poirier was submitted by Makhachev in round 5 at UFC 302, which surprisingly had Tsarukyan critical of his performance. I do think he can get it done. I think he's an athlete. Look how flexible he is. Look how he got out of that choke with Charles Oliveira. That was impressive. He dug deep for that, and you know he's got a better coach. He's got a great coach. I believe in Arman. He's an athlete. He's got big power in his hands. If he believes in his hands, I think he can knock out Makhachev. What's going on over there with Arman and Dustin? I don't think Dustin's this nice guy that he portrays. Everybody tries to act like he's such a nice guy. Jeremy Stephens sees BKFC fight versus ex-UFC champ Eddie Alvarez as career-defining. Despite fighting some of the world's best under the UFC banner for well over a decade, Jeremy Stephens feels he hasn't exactly gotten the respect he deserves from the combat sports world. Stephens, a former UFC featherweight veteran, believes he has the perfect opportunity to change his legacy and fan perspective later this month, as he takes on former UFC and Bellator lightweight champion Eddie Alvarez. There's a lot of questions to be answered, and I'll answer them. People are really going to have to respect that. You go out there and beat a guy like that with all the accolades in someone else's hometown, backyard, and willing to take the risk and step up a weight class to make sure this fight actually happens? You tell me. I'm taking the biggest risk for the biggest opportunity. People may not like me, they may disagree with me all the time, but you look at the facts. Your boy right here is the real deal. I'm putting it all on the line. This is my dream. I've visualized it. My opponent is shorter and slower, so you tell me. I put myself in theses opportunities. People need to start putting some respect on my name. I'm putting it all on the line. Lightweight prospect calls for Michael Chandler's removal from the rankings. According to one up-and-comer, Michael Chandler has no business having a number next to his name in the UFC lightweight division. Chandler has had an up-and-down run since joining the UFC from Bellator, where he was a former 3-time champion. He's been unable to win gold on MMA's biggest stage and has accumulated a negative record. During a recent interview, the unranked Grant Dawson gave his assessment of that, calling for the veteran to be booted from the top 15. There are people who do not belong in the top 15, let alone the top 10. If you like it somebody like Michael Chandler, he's 2-4 in the UFC. You put his record up against my record, 11-1 in the UFC, assuming I beat Diego Ferreira, 11-1 in the UFC compared to 2-4 in the UFC, and you say, yeah, the 11-1 guy is not ranked. The 2-4 guy ranked in the top 10, top 7. It doesn't make any sense. You've got these guys, they're not looking to fight the up-and-comers. They need to take Michael Chandler out of there. Sean O'Malley sets ideal scenario for his journey to reclaiming UFC bantamweight title. Sean O'Malley is determined to reclaim his place on the UFC's bantamweight throne. The former champion, one of the UFC's top stars, is coming off a decision loss to Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 306 last September, a setback that ended a 3-fight winning streak that included capturing and defending the bantamweight title. Speaking at a pre-fight press conference ahead of Rizin 49, O'Malley expressed his hopes for a rematch with Dvalishvili, who is set to defend the bantamweight title against undefeated rising star Umar Nurmagomedov on January 18th. Ideally, Merab beats Umar and I get the rematch, but if Umar wins, it'll be Umar. That's what I want next, a title fight, hopefully mid-next year. So, the winner of that one. That fight's coming up very, very soon. BKFC boss targeting March for next Mike Perry fight. Perry recently expressed his frustration about the difficulty he's had booking his next BKFC appearance, having not appeared in the promotion's ring since he knocked out fellow UFC alum Thiago Alves last April. His frustration was seemingly compounded after he was fired by BKFC part owner Conor McGregor following his loss to Jake Paul in the boxing ring. According to Feldman, however, Perry needn't worry. He is still a crucial part of BKFC's plans, and the promotion is hoping to get him back to the ring this spring. It looks like March for Mike. He's definitely coming back. We talked about it a little bit at the fight in Florida. I know that Mike likes to talk and say, they're not giving me fights, they're not doing this. But we've been talking to his management team. He's coming back. I wish he didn't step outside of this sport because I truly believe he owns this sport. This was made for Mike Perry. Mike certainly is still with BKFC. He got fired for a couple minutes there, but he didn't really get fired. He's certainly with BKFC. He helped really turn the corner for us in certain ways, and we're all about Mike Perry. It remains to be seen who Perry will fight in his anticipated return to the BKFC ring, but Feldman is open to the setting up a matchup between Platinum and former UFC welterweight champ Robbie Lawler. It's a possibility. The UFC has to go along with that because Lawler is under contract. There's a possibility for that, and a few other things. Arman Tsarukyan reveals what Islam Makhachev told him after first UFC fight. Islam Makhachev gave Arman Tsarukyan some words of encouragement after their first UFC fight. Makhachev welcomed Tsarukyan to the UFC in April 2019, defeating the then 22-year-old by unanimous decision. Tsarukyan would go on to win 9 of his next 10 fights, earning his way back to a rematch with UFC lightweight champion Makhachev. For years, Tsarukyan was the fighter who pushed Makhachev the most, but Makhachev is confident that he gets the finish this time. Yeah, of course I do remember. He supported me after the fight. He said, "You're still young, everything's ahead of you, so don't be upset." And I was like, "I'm not that young," fell down, sat down, and covered my eyes. Yes, I never liked losing, no matter how young I was. I think he might underestimate me on camera, acting like I'm not on his level, but his team, his coaches understand that I'm a very serious threat, and they will prepare as well as they can. Michael Bisping praises Jon Jones for stroke of genius marketing, ahead of possible Tom Aspinall fight. UFC Hall of Famer Michael Bisping believes Jon Jones has played his cards right. It's no secret that a heavyweight title unification clash between Jones and Tom Aspinall is the biggest fight the UFC can pull off in 2025. Jones has said that if he's expected to collide with Aspinall, then he will need a substantial payday. He's also publicly shown more interest in fighting the reigning UFC light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira. Ultimately, Jones's comments on a potential fight with Aspinall may have done his bank account a world of good. As we know, Jon Jones kind of shied away from fighting Tom Aspinall leading up to the Stipe Miocic fight, which was an absolutely stroke of genius in terms of marketing, because it drove the demand through the roof, sky high, made it the fight that everybody wants to see. Well, guess what? The man is going to get paid properly, more than likely. Alex Pereira's next title defense will be versus Magomed Ankalaev. It's MMA, so anything can happen, Ali Abdelaziz acknowledged. But absent some fluke, he says the next UFC light heavyweight title fight is all but locked up. It's been the consensus anyway that 205-pound champ Alex Pereira will take on Abdelaziz's client Magomed Ankalaev next, but Pereira has made some intimations that the UFC might have other ideas. And Abdelaziz thinks there might be a little gamesmanship going on from the Brazilian. If so, it's for naught, is what the longtime manager surmises. Alex Pereira can say whatever he wants. He fought 3 fights in 167 days. Who am I to say? He cannot say whatever he wants. He's having fun. Ankalaev's having fun with him. But the only thing that's going to matter, him and Ankalaev are going to be locked in a cage. Alex Pereira is fighting Magomed Ankalaev next. The UFC, everything can be maneuvered, get delayed. In the UFC, the best fight with the best. It's the only promotion in the world, I can tell you this. If you keep winning, you get to fight for a title. I think this is one of the most intriguing fights.